Paula Drogi, and this is my search for a material soul. Where are we? It's a good question to ask periodically. There are simple answers, of course, that can locate us geographically or relative to the immediate environment. Right now, I'm in State College, Pennsylvania, in my office, as a flurry of snow flutters outside my window. But is that where I am, really? Where I am is also on this journey with you, traveling in a mental space through ideas about the interactions among body, brain, and world that produces a self. We started on a warm spring day wondering about the tension between spirituality and materialism. How is it possible to believe in God and also believe that humans are entirely material beings, composed of the same basic physical stuff as any other animal, vegetable, and mineral? Here's a list of topics I was thinking about at the beginning. The war of worldviews setting science against religion. The problematic notion of God as omniscient creator. What faith involves. What science involves. How emotion figures in science and religion. Whether life after death requires a non-physical soul. I've discussed the problematic notion of God as omniscient creator in Season 2, Episode 4, What Faith Involves in Season 1, Episode 3, Emotion and Science, Season 2, Episode 1, Emotion and Religion, Season 2, Episode 2, and Life After Death in just the previous episode. I'm not sure I'm that interested in the War of Worldviews. We'll see if I get back to that one. As expected, a lot of other topics came up along the way. Season 1 ended up as a consideration of the way physical systems of neurons come to make meaning out of their interactions with the good and bad stimuli that chance their way. Evolution loves death. Nature produces multitudes and kills at the same rate. Humans are the ones who value life as meaningful. How does that come about? In Season 1, Episode 4, In the Beginning Was the Word, I considered representation as the foundational relation between brain and world where the mind enters. Brains represent things in the world in order to find good things and avoid bad ones. Meaning is rooted in the need to navigate an abundant and dangerous world. And minds are the meaning makers that do this work. In Season 1, Episode 6, I gave some reasons that consciousness is not the soul. It's just too fleeting and superficial. In Season 1, Episode 7, I offered the beginnings of a description of the material soul in the nature of a self housed in a body, incorporating memories, decision, character, and relationships. Another important element in the material soul is the way a person determines the difference between good and evil. Season 1, Episode 8 and Season 1, Episode 9 developed the idea of virtue ethics, where good is a matter of practicing skills that encourage flourishing. On this way of thinking about good and evil, religion helps cultivate a soul through beliefs and practices that focus on how we can better love one another. Jumping ahead to Season 2, we find that religion serves other social bonding functions that allowed large unrelated groups to trust one another in Season 2, Episode 6. Whether other non-religious groups can serve this function was the topic of Season 2, Episode 7. The series on Bad Church, Season 2, Episodes 8 through 10, looked at the way fundamentalism and technology fail to fill this function. Other aspects of the material soul that came up this season are the way emotions are embodied in Season 2, Episode 1, the importance of assessing sex as holy or unholy by whether it is loving or harmful rather than by the type of sex it is in Season 2, Episode 2, the communal value of political freedom in Season 2, Episode 3, the possibility of free will in a system of physical causation in Season 2, Episode 4, and the recognition that evil is a capacity in all humans, not a demon to be cast out in the form of immigrants or political opponents or those who choose different lifestyles in Season 2, Episode 6. Where the theme in Season 1 was making meaning, The theme this season has been how to shape ourselves into more loving beings. The most recent episodes on the value of death, Season 2, Episode 11, and the inability of near-death experiences to prove the existence of an immaterial soul, Season 2, Episode 12, have begun the shift back toward the question of meaning. And that's the direction I'd like to move next season. I've been frustrated lately that I haven't had a chance to read more of the books on my shelf. A few new books, Time for Hope, Christian Atheism, and some classics, The Miracle of Mindfulness, Mere Christianity, The Cost of Discipleship. These all deepen the examination of meaning by looking at theological responses to the unique human capacity to think about infinity while simultaneously facing our own finitude. This is the ambiguity of existence described by Simone de Beauvoir, as I discussed in Season 2, Episode 11. The consequence of this predicament is an existential anxiety that can only be truly calmed by grounding the meaning of our finite lives in purpose that transcends ourselves. I would like to learn more about Hindu and Buddhist approaches to the search for meaning and think about big ideas like destiny and forgiveness. When I talked about free will in Season 2, Episode 4, I promised to say more about how a mind could possibly have physical causal force. When I talked about faith in Season 1, Episode 3, I touched on the question of miracles, which is another issue I'd like to revisit more deeply. If I get to all those books on my shelf, there will be many more topics that surface. All of this thinking and reading takes more time than I have had with my current schedule. So my plan next season is to slow down my output to post something new once a month. Posting regularly keeps me focused. Deadlines are useful that way. But this is a personal journey, so it needs to allow room for me to travel at the speed I want to go. In my first episode, I wondered whether anyone would find this blog. I'm happy that a few of you have, and even happier to have been engaged in many IRL conversations about it. There hasn't been much online conversation, however, and I've been thinking about whether to try to do something about that. Switch to Substack, get on Instagram or TikTok. There may be interviews at some point in the future. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to make it easier for you to join me on this journey. For now, though, I'm looking forward to slowing down, learning and thinking more. Winter is a good time for quiet contemplation. I recommend it, and I look forward to seeing you again next season.